So after about 3 months of trying to get my Steam Machine to work the way I want it to, I ended up just scrapping the whole idea and picking up an Xbox One S over the holidays. Now don't worry, this isn't going to be an unboxing video. Instead, I want to talk to you about why I switched from a Linux-based Steam Machine to the Microsoft-built Xbox One. Now, if you're a subscriber of mine, you probably know me as a Linux gaming channel, or at least a Linux-based channel, I guess. And that's not untrue. And despite doing away with my Steam Machine and replacing it with an Xbox One, I certainly don't plan on doing Xbox videos. Like a lot of people in the Linux gaming community, I had really high hopes for SteamOS and Steam machines in general. At the end of 2015, I actually registered a domain called SteamOSgamers.com. I never did anything with the domain, but in October of 2016, I went ahead and let it expire. I even created a SteamOS gaming community on Google+, and it didn't really go anywhere. I think that it ended up with something like 50 members, and it basically just ended up being me posting my blog articles about SteamOS on there. I also made 9 SteamOS specific videos on my channel, but as the interest in SteamOS died off, so did the audience. And by mid-2016, the writing was really on the wall, and nobody was really looking for any new content on SteamOS. June 2016 is when Ars Technica published their somewhat scathing article about Steam machines being dead. They talked about the numbers of sold Steam machines and compared them against the numbers of sold Steam controllers. And since then, I don't think anybody's really talked about SteamOS or Steam machines as a serious gaming platform. And therein lies the problem. Gaming platform. Both the Xbox and PlayStation are much more than a gaming platform. For example, both the Xbox and PlayStation can play Blu-rays, specifically encrypted Blu-rays, which is still something that many Linux distributions have trouble with. Given that most, if not all, Steam machines are sold without an optical drive, even if you build your own Steam machine, SteamOS itself doesn't have a native way of playing anything from an optical drive. Now, I know a lot of apologists out there would say that there is in fact a way to install software on your Steam machine that will allow you to play back media from your optical drive, but that completely defeats the purpose of having a pre-configured, pre-installed Steam machine right out of the box. You don't need to install special software on your Xbox or PlayStation to watch movies, so why the hell would you need to do that with your Steam machine? So without the optical drive, what if you want to watch something like a Netflix or YouTube? For the Xbox, there's a built-in app for YouTube and Netflix. Netflix is actually extremely well integrated into the Xbox. On the Steam machine, it just sucks. SteamOS's web browser is unquestionably the absolute, positively worst web browser that I have ever seen anywhere. Seriously, IE7 would be an improvement over this piece of garbage. And to top it off, the SteamOS web browser has issues playing DRM videos, which means Netflix is a hassle. The official workaround from Valve is to watch a broadcast in SteamOS and then go back to the browser and try to watch your video on Netflix. And if that doesn't work, reboot SteamOS and try that again. Now think about it for a second. What if Microsoft released the Xbox and people tried to watch Netflix and they couldn't? And Microsoft's official response was, oh, well, you gotta kind of jiggle the handle and do this thing and then reboot your Xbox. So multimedia issues aside, before I totally gave up on SteamOS and Steam machines in general, I figured that I would just go ahead and try an Alienware Steam machine. The Alienware Steam machines are basically the official Steam machines. I know that there's a lot of other brands of Steam machines, but the Alienware is really the most well-known and probably most well-supported Steam machine. And I figured since it was the holiday season, I'd be able to find it for a good price. The cheapest I could find it was on Amazon, on sale for $335. The list price is $450. $450. That's more expensive than an Xbox One that isn't on sale for the holidays. Now, given that it is the holiday season and there's deals and sales all over the place, you can buy a base bare bones Xbox One, the non-S model with the 500 gig hard drive for 250 bones. So considering the Alienware Steam machine is almost $100 more than the base Xbox, maybe the Alienware machine is more powerful or just generally better. So to compare the two, I went ahead and made this spreadsheet. The top part of the spreadsheet is the more hardware-focused attributes, and the bottom part is the more important software portion. So the first-gen Xbox One is pretty much better than the Alienware Steam machine all around, despite being almost $100 cheaper. It comes with an optical drive, it has more faster RAM, it has a better CPU, and a better GPU. The Steam Machine has a better hard drive in that it's faster and it's replaceable, though if you do replace your hard drive, you have to reinstall SteamOS, so that's kind of a trade-off. And the Wi-Fi adapter is better because it supports AC, whereas the Xbox only supports wireless N. Now, I didn't want to dive too deep on the software because it's kind of comparing oranges to tangerines, but I did list the most important software features. The first one being suspend mode. I didn't actually know how important this was. The Xbox automatically goes into suspend mode after like 30 or 60 minutes of inactivity. It also returns from suspend mode in about 2 seconds. SteamOS does not have any form of suspend mode at all. In other words, when you turn your Steam Machine on, it's on. It doesn't go to sleep, it doesn't go into hibernation or suspend, it's on. And when you power it off and back on, the boot time is pretty brutal, even with the 7200 RPM drive. Now, the controller support is really where the Steam Machine shines, and I think that's in large part due to the fact that it's based on Linux. You know, the open platform that supports almost everything. With your Xbox, you get one option, your Xbox One controller. Yeah, I know if you're using Rock Band, you've got like a guitar and drums and stuff, but your Steam Machine will support a keyboard and mouse, an Xbox 360 controller, though it can't support an Xbox One controller yet, a PlayStation 4 controller, and I think also a PlayStation 3 controller, the popular Steam controller, almost any third-party USB or Bluetooth controllers, and I believe it will even support some Rock Band or Guitar Hero controllers, not to mention some DDR pads. As far as streaming goes, the Xbox will allow you to stream publicly to Twitch. I don't think it'll let you stream to YouTube, but as far as the Steam Machine goes, there is no public streaming. You can't even stream to Steam Broadcast, something that you can do with Steam on Windows. You cannot do that with SteamOS, still. For private streaming, you can stream your Xbox One to Windows 10, and that's it. With the Steam Machine, you can stream from and to any Steam client on any OS, so Windows, Linux, etc. And then built-in game capture. The Xbox One has built-in game capture, so you can capture some game footage real time and save it to your hard drive, or to the cloud, I'm not actually sure. But with the Steam Machine, there is no game capture. And yes, once again, I know that apologists out there will say, well, you can use OBS or you can rig up a way to use Simple Screen Recorder to record footage, but again, that's not the point, especially if we're talking about an Alienware Steam Machine. The point is that out of the box, you shouldn't have to do any customization to get standard features found in other platforms. If you have to install something or boot into the Linux desktop, then in my opinion, the platform has failed. And that brings me to the last and probably the most controversial part of this video. In my opinion, SteamOS has failed. Now, SteamOS itself was announced all the way back in 2013. It's based entirely on Debian with relatively few Valve-specific customizations. It uses its own compositor and some other stuff, but it borrows very heavily from Debian itself, but also the Steam client. What you see in SteamOS is nothing more than Steam Big Picture mode. You can get the exact same UI on Windows or Linux. After upwards of a year and a half of testing, Valve set the official release date for Steam Machines in October of 2015. By June of 2016, media outlets had called SteamOS a failure. And I know a lot of people point the finger at performance or the game catalog, but in my opinion, I think that the real failure of the Steam Machine is that it can't actually compete with the other platforms. It has virtually no multimedia capabilities, it's less powerful than its competitors, and it's quite a bit more expensive than its competitors. The price alone takes away any competitive edge that it had over Xbox or PlayStation. I mean, you have to pony up some serious dollars to make the hardware more powerful than the Xbox. And even then, you don't get a Netflix app, you don't get a YouTube app, you don't get live streaming. So the question is, why would anybody buy this? I would say that the biggest draw that the Steam Machine has is that you can play the games that you've already purchased for your PC on your Steam Machine, but even that's not necessarily true, because if your primary PC platform is Windows, then there's probably a handful of games that you can't play on SteamOS. Now, much to the Linux gaming scene's credit, that gap has closed dramatically, but it's still there. And given that SteamOS also doesn't have any exclusive titles, anything that you could play on your Steam Machine, you could turn around and play on your Windows PC with better frame rates. Or you could take it a step further and install Windows on your Steam Machine and just play your games on your couch, which is, you know, exactly what the Alienware Alpha is. In fact, several vendors pulled out of the Steam Machine thing at the last minute. Falcon Northwest being one of them, stating that the performance just isn't there. And that wraps up my opinion on SteamOS and Steam Machines. So nothing would make me more happy that with SteamOS version 3, which is hopefully right around the corner, Valve pulls out an ace that they've had up their sleeve, and suddenly SteamOS is kicking ass and taking names. Now, I don't see that happening, but I would be very happy if it did. Now, if you're a subscriber of mine, don't let this video freak you out. I'm not going to suddenly start gaming on Xbox, and I certainly won't be making Xbox videos. Linux is and will probably always be my primary OS, both for gaming and for just ordinary desktop stuff. But I think that it's important to acknowledge when something goes wrong, and in my opinion, things went very wrong with the Steam Machine. Hopefully they can fix it and make it better, but we'll see.